Norman stayed silent the next day at work because he couldn't get over how people were so willing to step over each other for the sake of media. He had never actually worked with producers and creatives, so he didn't know if this was just a LaCroix thing or how all these movie types acted. Carlos, on the other hand, was ecstatic, and he couldn't stop talking about this location scout. It was a day until the location scout, and he absolutely was dreading it. Carlos couldn't wait, and the promise of a dragon's hoard of money had his eyes wide. Norman had settled down for bed at approximately 11:20 p.m. when he got an unexpected ring at his doorbell. "Norman, is that the door?" came the voice of his aging mother. "It is, Ma. I'll check on it. No need for you to get up," Norman insisted. He had never gotten a surprise visitor this late, even counting the days of his youth. He wandered to the darkened door, and the outside motion lights had something in its sights. Who is it?" Norman asked. "It's Brody Danger," said the voice in his distinctively British tough guy accent. Norman rolled his eyes. There was absolutely no way one of the biggest action movie stars of the past 20 years just randomly showed up at his door. "Okay, sure," he said, smiling, attempting to filter out the sarcasm. When he looked out of his peephole, there Brody Danger stood. He was a bit shy of 6 feet, a bit balding, but built like a UFC fighter who hadn't taken any serious damage to the face. Yeah, are you sure you have the right house?" "Who is it, Norman?" blurted his mother. "I don't know, Ma. That's what I'm trying to figure out," said Norman. "I don't have all day," Brody said impatiently. "Are we gonna do this location scout or what?" said one of the biggest action stars in America. "I thought it was tomorrow, and I definitely didn't think you were gonna show up personally." "Look, Brody Danger does what Brody Danger does. Little known fact about me. When I pick up a project, I throw myself in it deep. There is no part of the process too mundane. Now you're gonna open this door." Norman opened the door. He was amazed he was actually talking himself out of meeting up with a man whose movies he adored his entire life. "That's what I'm talking about, my son. Get on your coat and we're taking a ride." "Norman, who's at the door?" came Norman's mother's voice. It's a friend from work," said Norman. "Do you want me to handle your mom? I tend to do well with women in their over 60 demographic." "No, that'll be okay. I honestly don't know if she'd survive the shock. Let's go," Norman insisted. Brody walked with his shoulders held high and arms out like a 1920s tough guy, but his bad boy reputation was said to be well earned. He walked through Norman's quaint residential neighborhood like a bull in a china shop. Norman could see Carlos in the window of a modded-up Mazda, which was black with yellow accent lines. Norman noticed the cameraman wordlessly gazing at the two approach with its huge, unblinking mechanical eye. "Is he filming?" asked Norman. "The moment I agree to shoot, I start filming," said Brody. The cameraman wordlessly got into the back seat with Carlos. When Brody hit the ignition, he looked over to the two and said, "Okay, you two are the geniuses that crafted the scene, so what is it?" Brody asked as he stepped on the gas and gunned the Mazda. It went off screaming automotive mayhem. I don't," Norman started to say. Carlos jumped in. "It's a race against time. You need to save people driving around the city." "Why would I be doing that?" Brody asked as he ran a red light. Norman buckled his seatbelt. Because Carlos stammered. He obviously hadn't written that far ahead and was attempting to make it on the fly. "It doesn't matter. Let's just do a little first things first and improv it on the fly." Brody gunned the engine full speed. They traveled northbound and was a few blocks from the Kismet Expressway, which would lead them to the serendipitous Fate District. They moved in a blur. "Mr. Danger, is it possible for you to slow down?" asked Norman. "Yeah, I could, but the script demands I don't. And can't nobody say I ain't method." "I don't know what that means, but we're doing over 100 on the street. Do you think—" Suddenly, Brody downshifted, hit the brake and the emergency brake. He put the car into a full-on power slide. Norman screamed as the centrifugal force pinned him to the door. The car violently slammed into a man pushing a shopping cart. The impact threw him a half a block down. "What the man? What the blurted Norman. Carlos all but cheered from the back. "You hit that guy," Norman said earnestly, even though it was painfully obvious. Brody Danger looked at him and said, "I know. The script says I need to save a life, don't it? Now, be a good lad and scoop him up so we can race him to safety."